Contract of indemnity. Just go through the definition once: contingent contracts, wagering contracts, and contract of indemnity. Now, contract of indemnity is one where one party promises to save the other from loss caused by him, by the promiser himself, or by the any other person who is in the contract. We had the indemnifier and the indemnified. We did with the bank state one of the example. What is the example that we did for contract of indemnity? He had a fixed deposit, and the son wants to withdraw the amount after the death of his father. So in that case, he will have to sign an indemnity bond. And who is the indemnifier and the indemnity? One is the promisor and the promisee. The person who signs it on the promisor is known as the person, it's the son of the father, and bank is the indemnifier. Now, next we will move to contract of guarantee. Now, in indemnity, it is in the case of loss caused by the conduct of the promisor. Here, a contract of guarantee is a contract to perform the promise or discharge the liability of a third person in case of his default. So, here you can see that there are three persons as such. Two persons who are already there in the contract, and you have another third person who takes up the guarantee, who is the guarantor. So, a contract of guarantee is a contract to perform the promise or discharge the liability of a third person in case of his default. So, the person who gives the guarantee is called as a surety, and the person in respect of whose default for whom I am giving the guarantee is called the principal debtor, and the person who is giving the guarantee is to whom the guarantee is given is called as the creditor. Firstly, understand these three persons, which is very important. Take for example, a loan is taken from the bank. It takes a loan from the bank. So you definitely need these days. It's essential that you will have a surety or someone who guarantees that yes, I would act as a guarantor for the person. So that person is known as who gives the guarantee is known as a surety. Now, who is the principal debtor and creditor in case of the customer at the bank? Any one of you. Who is the principal debtor and the principal creditor in the case of the principal debtor and creditor? I'm saying. Who is the debtor here and who is the creditor here? In respect of whose default the guarantee is given is called the principal debtor. So, in whom do I give the guarantee? In case of bank and the customer, anyone. It will be very difficult student if you do not understand even the basic terms. How do I go further and do the entire thing? Who is whom are you? The surety gives a guarantee on behalf of whom? Students on behalf of the customer. So the customer is the principal debtor here, and to whom is he giving the guarantee? The bank. So the bank is the creditor. Please make it very clear, students. In the case of guarantee, we have three parties and there are three contracts. So, the person who gives the guarantee is known as a surety. The person to whom he gives the guarantee is the principal debtor. On whose behalf, sorry, the person to whom he is giving the guarantee is called the creditor, and whose behalf he is acting as a surety is known as the principal debtor. Clear with everyone? Who is the surety, who is the principal debtor, and the principal creditor. Now, what is the essentials of a contract of guarantee? Firstly, as I told, there are three contracts. One between the surety, principal debtor and the creditor, the principal debtor and the surety, and the creditor and the surety. So there are three persons involved, and all the three have the contract with each other. The principal debtor, the person who takes the loan, he has the primary liability. Then only comes the surety. The principal debtor may be incompetent to contract, but he will have to disclose it. And consideration received by the principal debtor is sufficient. It is not necessary that the surety should also receive the consideration. And a contract of guarantee need not be in writing. It can be in oral also. So these are the essential elements of a contract of guarantee. There are three contracts. Principal debtor's liability, the person who takes the loan, his liability is primary. He just can't dump to the surety because you are my surety, you pay it. No, it does not go like that. The principal debtor, only if he becomes incompetent to the contract, then the surety's role comes into play. And consideration received by the principal debtor itself is sufficient. It is not that even the surety should receive any consideration. It's not essential. And lastly, the contract of guarantee need not be in writing. It can be oral also, and it is accepted. Now there are two types of guarantee. One is a specific guarantee, and the second one is a continuing guarantee. A specific guarantee is only for one transaction, one event, or only one event I given guarantee that if he delivers the goods, then the contract is over. So X promises Y that I will deliver 1,000 bags of rice for a consideration of rupees 10,000. If in case X does not deliver, I will take the guarantee. So that is only one transaction. Once the delivery of the goods is over and the consideration is received, the transaction is over, and the role of this guarantor is also over. The surety is also over. The continuing guarantee is it is on a continuous basis till the contract is over. For example, when I'm taken for employment, I A in consideration that we will employ C for collecting rent. So it is not for only 1 month, but it is every year or every month that he will be collecting rent. So in that case, I will take the guarantee that you can employ him, and I will take care that he gives you the rent all the time. So there are already two persons, the person, the tenant and the owner, and the person who is taking the guarantee. And since it is a rent, it is every month that it will occur and every year, and so it is a continuing guarantee. Next, what is okay? Can you at least give me one difference between a contract of indemnity and a contract of guarantee? Any one of them. Contract of indemnity and contract of guarantee. See, firstly, in the contract of indemnity, there should be a loss. Only if a loss arises, that contract of indemnity arises. Whereas in the case of contract of guarantee, there is the surety agrees to compensate only in case he is not able to pay, or in the event of not happening that the principal debtor is in default. Only in that case the role of the surety comes. Second one is the two parties there are who are involved in the contract of indemnity are the indemnifier, the person who promises, and the indemnified to whom the promises made the promise made. Whereas in contract of guarantee there are three parties: the surety, principal debtor, and the creditor. And again, in contract of indemnity, there is only one contract. There is no dual contract at all. Whereas in the contract of guarantee, there are three contracts. Again, next in contract of indemnity, the liability of the person who is giving the promise is primary and independent, whereas the surety's liability is secondary in the case of guarantee. And lastly, it is that the indemnifier need not act as the request of the indemnified. He need not act, but here the surety gives guarantee at the request of the principal debtor. So he has to act according to the principal debtor. Next, we would move to this is very important, students, discharge of surety. Under what circumstances this can be divided into three heads: by revocation, that is either by cancellation of the contract itself, by the conduct of the creditor, or by invalidation of the contract, where the contract becomes invalid. So, under these three cases, then the surety can discharge his liability. Now, firstly, when I say by revocation, it says that revocation itself means cancel. So, under what circumstances will it be cancelled? So, this is usually a continuing guarantee may be revoked as to future if any of the in any of these following conditions. Either you receive a notice from the court, in that case you will have to agree as per the court orders. So, as by notice, it means that a continuing guarantee may at any time be revoked by the surety as its future transactions by notice to the creditor. So he can give a notice to the creditor itself that he would not act as a guarantor, and this way he can come out of his discharges liability. If by the death of surety, then it is understood that it would not be able to carry forward because the surety itself is not present. And by novation means when I had this original contract, in place of it, another contract is being replaced. Or the original contract, there are some terms and conditions which have been replaced. So it can either be by notice to the creditor that I no more want to continue as a surety, by the death of the surety itself, and by novation is by making any changes or bringing the original contract in place of the change, in place of the old contract itself. So this is by revocation. Next, moving to by the conduct of the creditors. Creditors, keep in mind, is here an example we refer to as the banker. Now, by the conduct of the creditors, the first one is variance in terms of contract. So, if there is any variation or any changes made without the surety's consent in the terms of the contract between the principal debtor and the creditor, then the surety's liability is discharged. He discharges the surety as to transactions subsequent to the variance. There is a contract, there is a terms changed with the debtors and creditors. In that case, the surety can come out telling that it was not as per the agreed terms to what I had when I was entering into the contract. So, if there is any variance which is made, in that case, the surety would be discharged from his liability. Secondly, it is release or discharge of the principal debtor itself. Now, for this, I will give you an example. Like X contracts with Y to build a house within a specified time, and Y would Y promises to supply the necessary timber. So there is a contract between X and Y. He contracts that Y will build the house and Y promises to supply the necessary timber for X. Now Z guarantees that X's performance. Now if Y who is guaranteeing, there is another person called Z who is guaranteeing that X would complete the work and he would give. Now Y fails to supply the timber. In that case, when the debtor itself has not done performed one of the act as per the contract, in that case the surety should not be liable. He is discharged because the timber itself is not given. Whereas I have given an assurance that he would construct the house or he would build the house. But if there is nothing which is supplied from the debtor itself, then the liability of the there is no reason or no case that the liability of the surety arises. So he is discharged from his liability. Clear with the variance in terms of contract, release or discharge of the principal debtor. Third one is compounding by creditor with principal debtor. This is somewhat related to the first one where there is terms and conditions are changed. Now, for example, a person purchased a car on hire purchase upon the guarantee given by another. The vendor, without the surety's consent, gave the hire a further time to pay one of the installment. So there is already a contract between the creditor and the debtor where his extension does act or omission impairing surety's eventual remedy. Now, this we will do with an example again. Now, see, if the creditor does not act which is inconsistent, or he acts in which is inconsistent with the right of the surety, or omits to do any act which is duty of the surety requires him to do, and the eventual remedy. Now, anything which the creditor fails to tell to the surety, in that case, surety would not. Here it is. See, in the above cases, we saw that either the debtor or the creditor and the debtor are not performing. There are some changes which are made which have not been informed to the surety about. Same way, if there is certain the creditor's act or omission which he does not disclose it at the time of remedy to the surety, in that case you cannot the liability of the sureties would also be discharged. And finally, benefit of security creditor has against debtor. For example, D owes C rupees 25,000 and this debt is guaranteed by S. Now, further what happens is D owes C rupees 25,000 but this debt is guaranteed by S. Now, what does D further do? He assigns his insurance policy for rupees 10,000 in favor of C. In the event of these failure to pay C, the surety is discharged to the extent of 10,000 and is liable to C only for rupees 15,000. So there is a benefit of amount, like if there is any clause which is added for which the benefit is got, a surety gives a guarantee for the debt. In that case, only for the amount which is pending. For example, he would liable for, now in this case he's taken a loan for, that is a debt for 25,000 and he assigns his 10,000 in favor of C. So there is already an adjustment made. So now the surety would be liable only for this amount of 10,000 which is pending. And this 10,000 which is already, sorry, for 15,000 which is pending. 10,000 is already secure. So only for 15,000 he would be liable. So benefit of security creditor has against debtor. Just go through this each one of them. Then we will move to the next one by invalidation of contract. By the surety, first understand who is a surety, who is a debtor and a creditor, and what are the, how is it that we can discharge of surety. Just see that you are able to go understand it, and then you will move to the last three. Discharge of surety by invalidation of contract, where a contract becomes invalid. Shall we move, students?
Yes, ma'am.
The last one is by invalidation of contract, which is like when the contract becomes invalid. Now, with that, these are three circumstances in which the surety's liabilities are discharged. First is guarantee obtained by misrepresentation. So, if there is any guarantee which has been received by means of misrepresentation or the facts have not been disclosed, it is misrepresentation made either by the creditor or with his knowledge and assent concerning a material part of the transaction, then it would be invalid contract itself because certain details of the contract have been not presented properly. So, misrepresentation or in any matter it would lead to a invalid contract. Secondly is guarantee obtained by concealment. Now, any guarantee which a creditor has obtained by means of keeping silence as to a material circumstances is invalid, whereas he is not disclosed. First one is misrepresentation, and second one is he is not disclosed. He is remained quiet about certain things which are to be importantly said to be surety. And third one is failure of true surety to join a surety. Now, in this case, you will be having two sureties. So, wherein a guarantee is given upon a contract, that the creditor shall not act upon it until another person. So, if a co-surety does not join a surety, even in that case, they would not be able to carry on the contract and it becomes an invalid because there has to be two persons who have jointly taken as a surety. So you would not be able to continue with it further. So in these three circumstances, where there is misrepresentation, where there is concealment, where certain facts are not disclosed, and failure of co-surety to join a surety, in all these three circumstances, it becomes an invalid contract itself. Done with what is contract of guarantee, please do remember surety, principal debtor, and creditor. Always relate it to an example so it will be easy for you to remember. Then we did what are the essentials of a contract of guarantee and what are the kinds of guarantee, specific and continuing, differences between contract of indemnity and the contract of guarantee, and lastly we did with how what is the discharge of surety. Attempt that you'll be doing the three practical problems. Okay. So listen to this carefully. I will not repeat it again. Now S and D go to a shop. S tells C that let D buy any goods or let D have the goods. If he does not pay, I will pay the goods. So there is initially the S and D who go to a shop and S tells C who is the shopkeeper that if D does let D purchase the goods and if he does not pay, I will pay. I repeat it again. S and D enter into a shop and S guarantees S tells the shopkeeper that let D have the goods and if he does not pay, I will pay. Is this a contract of indemnity or a contract of guarantee? And tell me why. No one will not answer apart from him. Take a two total country.